What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're going to be talking about the surprise team of the 2023 season. Now, I have the surprise teams of the past 3 years pulled up already, and I definitely want to talk about some of my picks and who I think will be the surprise team. Now, there's one thing I do want to address when it comes to this. There are a bunch of surprise teams in some of the other years, not this one. I think it was this one. Okay, so in some of these seasons, we did have surprise teams, but there were more than one. I would say that in the 2022 season, there were at least three teams that I would consider to be surprises. I would say that the Minnesota Timberwolves were a surprise team for a lot of people. However, I do think that a lot of people got them right. Another team that I think that was a surprise was the Toronto Raptors. While I do think another couple of people got them right, I don't think that I had them in the expectation of being a top six seed. And let's be real, there was a little bit of luck that played into that, but you know what? I'll just leave it to that. And we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I personally think are the undeniable surprise team of this year. We just look at it, just no one anticipated for them to be this good. You know, they expected win losses right here, but I think that was updating as the season was going on. Look at their championship odds. I'm pretty sure they were like one of the worst. Where are they? They're on here. They were one of the bottom five teams in the NBA according to the championship odds. You cannot tell me that they weren't one of the better teams to be like a surprise team. It's very, very, very undeniable. Now, for the over-unders, look at it. Their over-under was 26.5. Looking at the other teams, whereas the Toronto Raptors were 36. The Minnesota Timberwolves were 35. While the Minnesota Timberwolves did do a lot better, I think a lot of people did at least expect them to be a lot better. Or, yeah, they expected them to be a lot better than what this kind of suggested. Everyone did not know about the Cavaliers. Even I, to a certain point, did not expect them to be a top six seed. In fact, a top four seed for a majority of the year. So I want to let that be known right now. Speaking of that, I should probably do the championship odds right now for the other ones. And of course, we have the New York Knicks. We already know about the story over here. Julius Randle just went off this year, and no further things about that. And for the other one, this is the correct one. We have the 2020 OKC Thunder. No one really predicted this team to be really good. I did not expect that this team to. I thought they were just gonna tank for real. But yeah, they did really well. OKC, they were over here, way over. And considering that this was a shortened season, that's really impressive. So I think that this team deserves all the credit that they have, and they should kind of be what's looking as a standard for a lot of these surprise teams. Now, all the teams that I mentioned so far, they actually had a couple of first-time All-Stars, except for the OKC Thunder, who I think Chris Paul wasn't the first-time All-Star, but he was an All-Star. We have Julius Randle, we had Darius Garland, and Jared Allen, along with a couple of really solid pieces to go along with that roster. They were really successful in one particular area of the game, and that's the reason why they kind of catapulted. So, looking at the preseason odds, we can kind of see like some of the expectations for some of these teams. I would say the Houston Rockets are one of my pick. The Detroit Pistons are another pick. San Antonio Spurs, and maybe the Charlotte Hornets. However, I don't really have the Charlotte Hornets up here. But I think another surprise team was actually the Minnesota Timberwolves. So let's just talk about it. Also, if we're just talking in general, who I think is going to be the most successful compared to their expectations, I think it's going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. But I think we all have at least some sort of expectations of when Zion comes back. So I think there's that. Also, the Cavs, I'm not sure if this updated after or before the Donovan Mitchell trade. But if it was before, I wouldn't blame them. If it was after, they got to be up like above the Miami Heat, in my opinion. But I'll let that one slide. Also, the Indiana Pacers are also a really good pick for this. But I don't think that they're going to be good. Not because they aren't a good roster, but because I think that they're just going to go for the draft. Now, getting into my actual picks, we have the Houston Rockets. I already did a video about them earlier. It's one of my most popular videos of all time, I think. It has like 350 views at this point. So I don't really want to talk about them that much. Not because they aren't a good team, but I don't think that I need to reiterate what I said over there. But I just think that the combination of a lot of their better players, someone like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., rookie top three pick. Where is Kevin Porter Jr. too? Him, these guys could just flight up the floor. If Jabari Smith is like a Derek or not Derek Collins, but a John Collins kind of player, then we could see some really nice offense from these guys. Even looking at the previous season, they they weren't the worst. Like after this point, they weren't the worst ever, but they still did lose a lot of games. So I do want to be aware that this team can go one way or another. But personally, for me, I think that this team is definitely going to be like raise a lot of expectations, especially because I think that this team has a lot more going forward for it, especially if they make some trades. I think that this team could be better than the Portland Trailblazers. They could even make a maybe top 10 seed, but personally, I don't think that this team has that much going for it, considering that we have the San Antonio Spurs. Now, this team did like go in the play-in kind of race later on in the season, especially because they ended up passing the Lakers somehow. There are a couple things I want to talk about when it comes to this team. So, looking at it, they were middle of the pack in both offense and defense. However, if we really just look at it, their net rating was 1, and they were like a little bit ahead of where they were supposed to be essentially. So looking at it, they just have to improve a little bit more on the offense and the defensive end. Looking at the roster right now, they're probably just gonna roll out a bunch of rookies, a bunch of younger players, and I forgot their pick for this year. I forgot who it was, but they have a lot of good players on this roster. Looking at Keldon Johnson, for example, Mr. USA. He was really good last year, and expect him to make the same jump that DeJounte Murray did. I already talked about this in another video, but DeJounte Murray took a really big step once DeMar DeRozan left, and now Keldon Johnson will probably have a similar jump to when DeJounte Murray. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, but DeJounte Murray, excuse me. Once he left, he's probably gonna increase his stats to like 22 points per game. He's probably gonna be a sub all star, if not a legitimate all star in this team. And just looking at the other pieces of the roster, they have a guy like Danilo Gallinari still on the payroll. Oh nah, but Jakob, he's a really solid big man. I think that a lot of teams are probably gonna pursue him. Looking at their other players, Romeo Langford is, I'm pretty sure, a really good shooter right now. I stand corrected. I was now someone else. But Jakob, really solid big man, especially because he's been putting up the stats that a lot of people really like. I think that he's probably going to increase his field goal percentage or field goals a little bit more. I don't think it has a point. Oh, yeah, it does. I think that he's probably going to average a little bit more points, like 16, 17-ish. Again, he's probably going to be a lot more of an actual big man being used in the offense, especially because DeJounte Murray's not there. He's probably going to get the ball a lot more. And looking at it, they just have like a bunch of rookies that they could just roll out, as I've said before. Josh Primo was their last lottery pick. I'm not sure how good he was, but I think that if I'm not mistaken, he was a really good shooter in college, but I could be wrong. However, I think another big problem with this team as a pick is that they're in the Western Conference, and I don't think that there's that much leeway with the West because we have a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, Minnesota, New Orleans Pelicans, Golden State, Clippers, Portland, or not Portland, Phoenix, and that's already 8 teams right there. So we're gonna essentially have a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. We're gonna have a team like the maybe even OKC Thunder. We're gonna have a team like the Portland Trailblazers, these guys, and Sacramento. Also, another shout out is Sacramento. They could actually surprise everyone. They got Kevin Huerter this past offseason. Sam Merrill, I'm not sure if he's really that good. I'm pretty sure he played on Milwaukee, but I'm like 90% sure he wasn't good. Harrison Barnes, he had an electric start to this season, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that if he can kind of replicate that, I think this team could really be very solid. But looking at how they were at like around here is when they traded for him. Sabonis, I mean, they kind of just didn't do as well as a lot of people expected, which is why I kind of just don't think that I have that much faith in this team. However, I do think that this team could probably pull out some that I just don't know. I think that De'Aaron Fox really. Oh, actually, that reminds me. De'Aaron Fox after the trade was actually really good, and that should be kind of talked about more, especially when it comes to these type of discussions. Looking at it, pretty sure it was over here to around here. But just looking at it from over here, we could already just see 50 from the field, 38 from the 3 point line, 28 points, actually 29 points on 7 assists per game. Like these guys are probably just gonna be insane next year. So I do want to at least think that they're gonna be a top 10-ish seed. But again, the West is too competitive. Oh, I accidentally deleted the team. So looking at the East, there's not that much other teams that could really compete for the couple of top spots either. Looking at all the teams that I'm marking right now, are already at. This is 9 teams already. This is 9. So there's going to be at least one more spot for the New York Knicks, the Washington Wizards, the Charlotte Hornets, the Detroit Pistons. And my pick will be Detroit, actually. The reason why I'm choosing Detroit instead of Washington is because I think that I just have more faith in a lot of these players than I do have in Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps, I just don't have faith in this game. Bradley, I'm not sure if he's going to be as healthy as he was in previous seasons. If he was playing like he was last season, I just don't have any really conviction. But I think this team is building probably the best roster around Kate Cunningham that they are ever going to, especially when it considers young talent. I think that they really did draft well. They were probably the biggest winners in the draft. I think that they're probably gonna, let go of Sadiq Bey, maybe even New Orleans. No, actually not New Orleans, but maybe a guy like Killian Hayes. But they're probably just gonna get rid of all these guys, just to kind of emphasis on a lot more younger, better talent. Jaden Ivey example. I'm pretty sure they also got another good rookie. I could be wrong. My memory is very hazy about. Oh yeah, Jalen Duren. I think that he's probably gonna have a really big spot on this roster. And if I were to pick a team not named the Minnesota Timberwolves to be the surprise team, it's probably gonna be the Detroit Pistons. But it's gonna be the Minnesota Timberwolves for one reason and one reason only. Ant is probably gonna go off. Rudy Gobert is probably gonna be viewed as one of the consensus top players of the NBA. Probably top 12. If everything goes right, and if Anthony Edwards does make the leap, if a guy like where's D'Lo, if D'Lo is able to orchestrate a pick and roll with bro, I think that this team could just be one of the best teams in the NBA. However, that really just depends on a couple things, and I just want everyone to understand that this team does have a lot of highs, but they do have a lot of lows depending on how good D'Lo is. So. That's pretty much it for me. Another team that I think that could maybe pull out some stuff is maybe the Lakers, but honestly, I think that a lot of people aren't surprised by the Lakers. I don't really have any expectations for them. Maybe a team like the New York Knicks, but I don't think so. So, that's been it. It's been your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and I hope you guys are having a great one.